My name is S. Rob and I'm going to talk about the Fountain of Youth. I understand that to many people the Fountain of Youth is just an idea and couldn't possibly be of any benefit to them. And people have been hunting for the Fountain of Youth for thousands of years. But in actual fact, historians have been neglecting and forgetting and suppressing certain facts for a long time. One of which is that Alexander the Great actually discovered the Fountain of Youth. This occurred when he was taken there by Alchemy, who had actually been there before. And this is a case of historians using the same source that they use for all other information about Alexander the Great and his history, but suppressing certain facts. They also suppressed the fact that Alexander the Great had horns, so he didn't look at all like you think he looked. Another important thing is that to get to the Fountain of Youth, you had to go through the land of darkness, and this was a place that was said there were strange animals there, and it was dark all the time. This was said to be in Russia. It has been said to be in other places, like Bulgaria as well. But an interesting fact is that recently there was discovered a whole network of tunnels under Europe. Okay, some of these small, some of these quite large. So in actual fact, it would be quite right to call these the land of darkness, or in fact any underground structure like that, yeah, because they're dark all the time. But what is also important to us is that the idea has power. It has magic power for us. And the Fountain of Youth, it was said that anyone who bathed in its waters or drank from it gained youthfulness, but not just outside youthfulness, but inside as well, okay? We've got to think about chromatic age versus biological age. You know, if you drank from its waters or you bathed in it, you would be biologically younger. This doesn't mean you go back in time. It means that you would have an extended lifespan. That's what it means. And that is the power of the Fountain of Youth. In actual fact, the way that Alchemy showed that Alexander the Great, the Fountain of Youth, worked was by bringing a fish back to life, which is the same way that he found out. Because what happened was he and some other people were going to find it. And there was still a split up, and at once there was two people and one person. He was in the group of two. And he had some fish he was going to eat, which he had already cut up. He went to wash his hands in the water. He then went to the fish, and a drop of water fell on the fish, and the fish came back together again and was back alive. And he realised at that point that he had discovered the Fountain of Youth. And if this sounds all crazy to you, then you should know that a lot of religious sects around the world still believe that Al-Qaeda exists. Okay, that he's an immortal and still walking around. So you don't just get an extended lifespan, you can actually live forever. Although he's said to know the existence of the Fountain of Youth. But what I'm not saying is that we all go out and try to find it. What I'm saying is that we can tap into the power of the Fountain of Youth itself and of its an idea and the power it has through astral projection. That means we'll be going to that place, but also somewhere where what it represents. I mean, we'd see things you wouldn't normally see if we were there, such as any deities are around it. A lot of deities are connected with immortality or youthfulness and also beauty and health, and these are connected with the Fountain of Youth as well. These would be easy to summon and use there. But I'm not saying we actually go potholing and try to find it. What I'm saying is that we can use it quite easily from where we already are, just by tapping into its power. And that's all that we really need to do. It's there for us to use, okay? And also we have to think that people are living longer, but they're not necessarily living healthier, okay? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't look after your health or do whatever else you want. I'm just saying that there's some very interesting magic you can do with the Fountain of Youth. And in fact, I'm going to show this to you now. Astral projecting to the Fountain of Youth. I'm now going to explain everything you need to know and do to astral project to the Fountain of Youth. You should do this if you can with your eyes closed, and as I talk here I'll tell you everything you need to do, imagine and say to do this exercise. And we're just trying to astral project there. That's all we're doing, just to get some of its power. Yeah. You need to close your eyes and imagine at first that you are out of your body and looking at yourself through a second body, which looks like you do. Now, imagine a dark opening and know that this is the gateway to the land of darkness. Walk through it to the land of darkness and keep walking. Be careful with your feet. And imagine then that you are floating faster and in front of you is the light. Come through the light to the land of the Macrobians. Say aloud, I announce myself to King Prester John. I seek to travel to the fountain of youth. Now walk along the path and keep walking and imagine yourself at the fountain. Walk to the fountain and bathe in it. Look at your hands and look at them as they grow younger, and your legs as they grow younger. You should wait there for a while and then leave the fountain. What I want you to do now is to turn around and walk back to the land of darkness. Walk through it, and then when you've done that a while, open your eyes and you're back. And you've gotten some of the effect from the fountain of youth. But the fountain of youth is not the only item which is linked to youth and healing. In actual fact, there's also the Philosopher's Stone and the elixir of life. We could think of the elixir of life simply as being water from the fountain of youth, but some modern people who class themselves as alchemists, ancient alchemists may have been quite different, but who class themselves as alchemists think of the Philosopher's Stone as being more an emotional state, more a spiritual state than an actual stone, and they class the John Dee sigil as being the Philosopher's Stone. But if we think of some ancient alchemy, we get something quite interesting. A very important phrase in alchemy is as above, so below. This would mean that the ancient alchemists would believe that if the fountain of youth was below us, that also it must be above. From this perspective, this would mean that the land of darkness would be above us, it would be from space. And that would mean we'd then be looking at a fountain of youth above. This would mean that perhaps the true seekers of immortality would be with aliens from other planets, other worlds. It could also mean that they believed that the fountain of youth was in the sun itself. After all, the sun is above us, and it also gives to us the ability to have life. Without the heat and the light from the sun, there wouldn't be any life. But also, if we think about below us, and we think about that, well, those animals that exist below us, they must be able to make far better use of the vitamin D and whatever other vitamins they get from the sun than we can. And maybe that is a secret of living a long life. But if we wonder whether immortality is in fact possible, we should think about the immortal jellyfish. This is a particular type of jellyfish which has the ability to regenerate. It actually has the ability to go backwards and to make itself young again. And this is linked to a chemical called telomerase, okay? And this is a protector of DNA. In fact, any animal or plant that reproduces asexually, that's without a partner, has a large amount of this chemical, as do people that live long lives. People have even found that if you take genetically engineer mice, not to have enough telomerase that age quickly. But the strange thing is, if you give them this chemical, they then go backwards and become young. Okay, and that's young as in biological age, okay, biologically young. Which is the same thing that was supposed to happen to people when they drank or bathed in the fountain of youth. An unfortunate fact with this chemical is it also causes large levels of cancer. But when we think about the past, it's perfectly likely that when we're talking about times where 30 was classed as being as old as people would get, that in actual fact that may be classed as being not something they would have bothered with. You might not have actually gained cancer because it may have happened further off. they would have simply seen it, they would have gotten younger. And that's what they would have seen. So at a very exciting time where science, mythology, history, the occult and the paranormal all know enough about this to connect. And this means that the entities such as Deities, which is a Celtic god of healing, and also Glannis, which is a Gaulish god of healing, and spring water, all draw on the same source. And this means they're literally drawing on something, not just something which is an idea, but also something which is solid and concrete. But don't think that ideas don't have power from this. In actual fact, they do. If you question the strength of ideas, just think about when you grow crystals. If you grow a crystal from water and you write on the side of it different words, it affects how the crystal itself grows. It's affected by the concept, okay? That concept affects it. And in the same way, it could be said that concepts affect us, and that's really what we're tapping into. We're tapping into the power of magic to affect what is around us. But also, Glannis is quite interesting because he had a town named after him, Glanum it's called, and there's a spring there. Now if we think back, the original location of the Land of Darkness was supposed to be Russia and also Bulgaria. Now if we think that what we're thinking of is a network of caves underneath, and water has the ability to flow vast quantities, vast space, it does mean that at some point in time that spring there may have actually had water coming from there, which would quite likely have caused people to be youthful. But of course, water doesn't necessarily have to flow from simply one source, and all it needs is a stone to fall in the way or anything, and then of course it all changes. And we also think there about how chemicals are produced when we are mass producing them. And I'm talking about us as humans, okay? Basically people use like fans and the pipe through things and heating, and we think about it, that's all things that could happen by accident. It's not going to happen all the time, but it would only have to happen once to get the chemical, and we're not saying it's Talmon Rose, it could be something else or a combination that would allow us to get the effect that we wanted, okay? But I don't feel this draws away from the magic. This means that we're in a very strong position to use it, okay? We're drawn on something that we now know a lot about in order to make it happen, and that helps, okay? Knowledge only ever helps us. But also what we need to think of as well is that simply taking things that are supposed to make us immortal or youthful doesn't have a good history of working out. And the fact is, many things in the past which people thought would make them immortal were not. They were taking things like mercury and all types of things which poisoned them, okay? So we're avoiding poison. What we're doing is we're using the idea behind this in order to strengthen ourselves, to give ourselves youthfulness. But this is youthfulness inside and out. In fact, what we'll be drawing on next will be more about healing, okay? But don't think that's not the same thing, because we're talking about biological age, not chronological age, okay? Chronological age is a different concept. We're not talking about actual passage of time. We're talking about how the body weighs. And a lot of that is actually down to the type of health we have. You know, if people have bad health as they get older, which most people do, then the slower that happens, then the lower your chronological age is, your age that time has passed. Yeah? And that's really what we're talking about now. Astral projecting to the fountain of youth and meeting Glannis. This is an exercise. I'll be telling you how to astral project. You need to imagine what I'll tell you to with your eyes closed, ideally. This isn't just to get power from the fountain of youth, but also Glannis, and to meet Glannis, which is a god of springs and healing. You should close your eyes and imagine at first you out of your body and looking at yourself through a second body, which looks like you do. Now imagine a dark opening and know that this is the gateway to the land of darkness. Okay, walk through the gateway to the land of darkness and keep walking. Be careful with your feet. And then imagine that you're floating faster and in front of you is a light. I want you to come through the light to the land of the Macrobians. You should now say aloud, I announce myself to King Prester John. I seek to travel to the fountain of youth. Now, walk along the path. Keep walking and imagine yourself at the fountain. You are now going to call on Glannis. Say aloud, Glannis, I seek your help. I who come from the world above, seek your help, immortal one. Glannis, Gaulish god of water and healing, come to me, so that I may bathe in the fountain of youth and gain the full effect of its magic. Glannis, come to me. Imagine Glannis walking up to you. You may find that this happens anyway. As he is there with you, walk into the fountain with the god Glannis. Bathe in the fountain and look at your hands as they grow younger. And your legs as they grow younger. You should then say, thank you, Glannis. You should then turn around and walk back to the land of darkness and through, and then open your eyes. For many people, the goddess of youth is Venus. Her only real rival is Aphrodite. And yet Venus isn't just linked to youth and beauty and love and sex. She's also linked to success, prosperity. You know, she has a range of powers and areas. But one very important thing to us is that Venus was born from sea form. It means that she could be thought of as an elemental spirit, literally coming from the sea itself, literally from water. And this makes her a natural entity to link to the fountain of youth. It means that she would naturally be linked to it being the elemental spirit, okay? So using magic with Venus and the fountain of youth makes perfect sense, okay? And that's one thing we can do. But of course there's other entities too. And one is Nodens. Nodens a different type of entity. He's a Celtic Gaulish god, and he comes basically with powers over ocean, healing, hunting and dogs. You can classify these into two elements. So we're basically got, we've got the healing in the sea, which comes together as we can see from the fountain of youth. Remember, we're talking about age as in biological age being better rather than actual, you know, the years, how the years pass. Meaning that if you use the fountain of youth and you become younger, you don't lose memories. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. So we're talking about biological age. And also the hunting and dogs part of Nodens' power comes from hunting, because people use dogs when they hunt, or in some types they do. And certainly in the Celtic areas and Gaulish, that was something that they would have done. This means he is a god that has power over, you know, the water and land. That's what we're talking about. And this makes him very useful to us because, of course, the fountain of youth, you know, was thought to be water on land. It was a spring, but it was on land. So you could think of this very much as being a representation of Nodens. But you may wonder what use this water really is, apart from the idea of healing and things like this and making us younger. But, you know, water today is still used as a concept, meaning flexibility, you know, youth healing and many other things as well. So we're also talking about things such as complementary medicine, use the idea of the ancient elements. Also things like martial arts and, you know, philosophical systems. But although these ancient elements sometimes are classified as 4 or 5, people believing that's because one of the other elements if you had 4 systems, would be us, which would be missing, okay? But the actual allocation of these elements changes. But the one element which is always there is water. And that is because it is so fundamental to us, okay? You know, we need water to survive. We require water. And so, using this magic will also help you to understand water as a concept. And water represents flexibility, you know, the ability to move mountains, you know, through flexibility and through its power. And to bring that into your own life, which means you get the ability to make change and to achieve greater things in your own life through the understanding of water that you would get from this magic. But I'm now going to show you some of this magic. Astral projecting to the fountain of youth and getting help from noddings. You should perform the directions that follow here with your eyes closed and say what I tell you to say. With your eyes closed, imagine at first yourself out of your body and looking at yourself through a second body which looks like you do. Now imagine a dark opening and know that this is the gateway to the land of darkness. Walk through this to the land of darkness and keep walking, and be careful with your feet. And then imagine that you are floating faster and in front of you is the light, and come through the light to the land of the Macrobians. Say aloud, I announce myself to King Prester John. I seek to travel to the fountain of youth. Now walk along the path and keep walking, and imagine yourself at the mountain. You will now call on noddings. Say it aloud, noddings, I seek your help. I who come from the world above, seek your help, immortal one. Noddings, God of healing, the ocean, hunting and dogs. Come to me so that I may bathe in the fountain of youth and gain the full effect of its magic and be made healthier, younger and better. Noddings, come to me. Imagine noddings walking up to you. You may find that this happens anyway, as he is there with you. Walk into the fountain with the god noddings. Bathe in the fountain and look at your hands as they grow younger, and your legs as they grow younger. You should then say, thank you, noddings. You should then turn around and walk back to the land of darkness and then through. Then open your eyes. The fountain of youth is, in actual fact, joined to many different concepts, not just the elixir of life and the philosopher's stone, but also the idea that it may exist because we think about it. There's a quote from Buddhism, with our thoughts we make the world, or another quote from Alchemy, as above, so below. As within us, as outside of us, what I think is real. That means that our thoughts, not just of the fountain, but of things about youth and healing, could actually manifest the fountain. That could be what causes it. But it also means that in actual fact this could be reversed. It could be the fountain that keeps humanity alive and functioning on Earth. And we can also think of the fountain in terms of not just historical and folklore, but also we can go and we can think of it as the telomerase, which is a substance which could cause the fountain of youth effect physically. And of course we also have the occult effect where people can draw on that power, and also that it could be manifested by us. But this also means that if the telomerase ever was to be depleted, it could quite possibly, even if we don't seem to rely upon it physically, greatly alter the effect of the human race, possibly even wipe us from existence. Therefore, it means that it is quite possible that our existence and the Fountain of Youth, even if just as a concept, are interdependent, that in a way we are it and it is us. But this also points out to us that our own lives aren't all there is, and that's not just as an individual, but also collectively. There is so much more out there for us to explore and experience, not just in ways of actual physical travel or astral travel, but in ways of thoughts, creation, and also artistically and on all different levels. And the ongoing process of this, an ongoing journey, is what may actually be required to maintain humanity and the human condition.